What I'm about to share is not a simple statement, not an empty expression, not a gentle whisper meant to soothe you briefly and then disappear. Listen closely, because what I am preparing to speak is not a casual declaration, not an idle phrase, not a faint murmur intended to steady you for a moment and then fade away. This is a proclamation that shakes the ground beneath your spirit. This is a message that carries the weight of heaven. This is the kind of truth that reaches into the deepest part of your soul and calls your spirit to rise when everything around you says, stay down. If there is breath in your body and even the smallest spark left in your faith, then you need to hear this. God is saying, I am still going to do it for you. Not maybe, not someday, not if the situation improves. God is saying, I have not changed my mind. I have not withdrawn my promise. I have not forgotten what I spoke over your life. I am still going to do it for you. Some of you have been carrying a silent question inside your heart. You haven't said it out loud, but it echoes through your thoughts like thunder. You've asked God, did I misunderstand you? Did I hope for the wrong thing? Did I misread the signs? Did I mistake my own desire for your voice? You've been wrestling with that fear that perhaps the door has closed, the season is past, and what you believe for will never come to pass. But God is stepping into that fear right now. God is stepping into that doubt right now. God is stepping into that heaviness right now, and He is speaking with the authority that created the heavens and the earth. I'm still going to do it. There is nothing casual about the promises of God. When God speaks, reality must shift. When God declares, circumstances must bow. When God commands, creation aligns with His will. And when God decides to do something in your life, there is no force, no person, no obstacle, no power, no delay, and no darkness that can overturn His decree. You may feel delayed, but God is never delayed. You may feel forgotten, but God cannot forget. You may feel weak, but God is not waiting for your strength. God is working from His own strength. Some of you feel like the promise God gave you is on life support. You feel like the dream is barely breathing. You feel like the hope is fading. You feel like the situation has stretched on for too long. But hear me, just because you are tired does not mean God is finished. Just because you see nothing happening does not mean God is inactive. The silence of God is not the absence of God. The stillness around you is not proof that God has stepped away. Sometimes the quiet season is the sacred season where God is preparing things so powerful, so measured, so precise, that they must be done away from your eyes until the moment He reveals them. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. God is saying, I am still going to do it for you, because God does not change His mind based on the storms you walk through. God does not reconsider His plan because your emotions waver. God does not withdraw His promise because seasons have shifted. God does not withdraw His promise because moments have faded. God does not recalculate your destiny based on the mistakes you've made. When God decides to do something, it is settled in the realm where doubt has no authority. But I want you to sense the weight of this truth. When God says, I am still going to do it, He's not saying it to comfort you. He's saying it to prepare you. There is a difference. Comfort soothes you. Preparation strengthens you. Comfort helps you sleep. Preparation wakes you up. Comfort makes you feel safe. Preparation makes you ready. God is not in the business of giving shallow comfort. God gives strength that carries you through storms. God gives power that stabilizes your soul. God gives vision that keeps you anchored when life tries to tear you apart. Some of you are asking, but why did it take so long? You've cried about it, you've prayed about it, you've begged for it, you've fought for it, and yet the promise feels no closer today than it did years ago. Hear this and let it settle in you. When God is preparing something big for you, the wait is not punishment. The wait is protection. God holds back certain blessings because if they came too early, they would break you instead of bless you. If they came too soon, you would mishandle them. If they arrived before you were ready, the very thing God designed to lift you would overwhelm you. God is not just preparing the blessing. God is preparing you. You think you're waiting on God, but in many ways, God has been waiting on you, waiting for your character to catch up to your calling, waiting for your strength to match the size of the blessing, waiting for your heart to be purified from the voices, influences, and distractions that would sabotage what He is about to release into your life, waiting for the weights to fall off your soul so you can carry what He is about to place into your hands. And hear this clearly. God doesn't build small. When God works, He works in ways that reveal His power. When God moves, He moves in ways that show His greatness. So when God says, I am still going to do it for you, He is not talking about something ordinary or average. He is talking about something that will make you say, only God could have done this. Only God could have arranged this. Only God could have opened this door. Only God could have lifted me this high. You may feel like the promise has slipped too far away. You may feel like the damage is too deep. You may feel like the opportunity has passed. But God is not limited by time. God is not restrained by natural order. God is not confined to what has already happened. God can resurrect what died. God can rebuild what was destroyed. God can restore what was stolen. God can elevate you from the very place where you were pushed down. I want you to notice something powerful. God did not say, I might do it. God did not say, I will think about it. God did not say, if everything aligns perfectly, then I will do it. No, God is declaring, I am still going to do it. The word still means He calculated in everything that is unfolded. The word still means He considered in everything that has occurred. He took into account the detours. He took into account the disappointments. He took into account the heartbreak. He took into account the mistakes. He took into account the delays. And after weighing all of it, God still said, my plan stands. That means nothing you've been through removed you from God's plan. Nothing you've lost disqualified you from God's plan. Nothing anyone did behind your back canceled God's plan. Even the moments you fell the hardest were already factored into the promise. And God is saying, despite it all, I'm still going to do it. You don't have to convince God. You don't have to beg God. You don't have to plead with God. The promise is not activated by your desperation. It is activated by God's decision. And God has already decided. Some of you need to release the guilt that has been choking your faith. You think you messed up too badly. You think you lost your chance. You think your past mistakes have poisoned your future blessings. But hear me, God knew your weaknesses before you even recognized your strengths. God knew your flaws before you walked into your destiny. God knew your struggles long before you prayed your first prayer. And God didn't choose you because you were perfect. God chose you because His plan for your life is stronger than every imperfection in your life. God knew who you were, and God still spoke the promise. That means you're not disqualified. It means you're not too late. It means you're not too broken. It means you haven't fallen too far. God is saying, I am still going to do it, because nothing can separate you from what God has decreed over you. Some of you are about to witness a shift so sudden, so powerful, and so precise that you will look back and realize that the delay was not a denial. It was a setup for something far greater than you ever imagined. God has a timing that is above your timing. God has a strategy that is above your strategy. God has a way that is above your way. And when God is ready to move, things that have been stuck for years will suddenly break open. Doors that have been shut will suddenly swing wide. Paths that were blocked will suddenly clear. People who overlooked you will suddenly have no choice but to notice what God is doing in you. This is only the beginning. There comes a moment in every person's life when God's promise feels almost unreachable. Not because the promise has lost its power, but because the journey toward it has tested every part of you. There are days when you stand strong, and there are days when you feel like your spirit is barely holding together. Yet, even in those moments, God watches over you with a precision you cannot comprehend. God does not only see your actions, God sees your endurance. God sees the quiet battles you fight when no one else is around. God sees the tears you wipe away. God sees the nights you lie awake questioning if you can keep going. And God is saying, I am still going to do it for you. Not because you never struggled, but because you kept standing even when everything inside you wanted to fall. Many people around you have misread your fight. Many people around you have misunderstood your struggle. They see where you are, but they have no idea what it took for you to survive this long. They see your calm face, but they don't see the storms you have walked through. They see your patience, but they don't see the pressure that has crushed your heart again and again. They see your strength, but they don't see how many times you've collapsed before God in private, asking for the power just to make it through one more day. But that is where the mystery of God's promise becomes so powerful. God never builds your destiny on the applause of others. God builds it on the perseverance that only He can see. God sees the truth of your heart, and because of that, the promise over your life remains untouched. You may not feel it, but right now God is rearranging things in ways you cannot imagine. God is setting things in motion that you have not even prayed for yet. God is preparing connections, opportunities, alignments, and breakthroughs that will make sense only when they appear. You think you are behind, but God is actually ahead of you. You think you're waiting, but God is building. You think nothing is happening, but God is preparing a moment where everything will shift at once. And when that moment comes, it will not be fragile or uncertain. God does not deliver halfway blessings. When God fulfills a promise, it stands with a strength that cannot be shaken. There are times when God allows delays so He can remove the people who cannot go into your future. You may not understand why certain relationships fell apart. You may not understand why people you trusted suddenly distanced themselves. You may not understand why some situations collapsed even when you prayed for them to hold together. But God saw what you could not see. God heard conversations you never heard. God witnessed motives you did not recognize. And God separated you from what would have harmed your destiny. Some of the people you lost were necessary losses. Some of the doors that closed were necessary closures. Some of the disappointments were necessary redirections, because God will not allow anything to contaminate what He has destined for you. Hear this clearly. If God removed it, it was never supposed to carry you forward. If God closed it, it was never designed to bless you. If God ended it, it was not aligned with His plan. You may not have understood the loss at the time, but someday you will look back and say, if that had stayed in my life, it would have destroyed me. God protects His promise with the same intensity that He fulfills it. And if God said He is still going to do it for you, then nothing that left your life had the power to stop what God decreed. Some of you have been asking, why does the promise feel so far away? But sometimes God increases the distance so He can increase your dependence. When the blessing is close, you rely on your strength. When the blessing is far,